The key to my dream home dangled from my fingers, glinting in the sunlight, as I stood frozen on the porch I'd spent years imagining. Then I saw the for sale sign. My name wasn't on it, but my sister's was. At 35, I'd poured every ounce of my soul into that $850,000 house, only to find my parents had gifted it to her without a word to me. I'd always been the dutiful daughter. Growing up in our modest Seattle suburb, I was the one who stayed up late studying, who took care of Mom when her arthritis flared, who helped Dad balance the family's books when his small business teetered on collapse. My younger sister, Lily, was the golden child, charming, reckless, and always forgiven. At 30, she drifted through life, chasing fleeting passions and leaving messes for others to clean. Yet somehow, she was the one standing on my porch, smirking through the window as she rearranged my furniture. The betrayal hit like a freight train. I'd spent a decade building my career as a software engineer, scrimping and saving for that house. A sleek, modern 3-bedroom with a view of Puget Sound. It was my sanctuary, my proof that hard work paid off. I'd signed the mortgage papers 6 months ago, after years of planning, only to let my parents hold the title temporarily to streamline some family estate paperwork. They promised it was a formality that ended with Lily's name on the deed. I knocked, my knuckles white against the door. Lily opened it, her hair a perfect cascade of curls, her smile dripping with faux innocence. "Oh, Anna, you're here. Isn't the house amazing?" she chirped, as if she hadn't stolen my life's work. Behind her, Mom and Dad stood awkwardly in the living room, avoiding my gaze. "Explain," I said, my voice low but trembling with rage. Dad shuffled forward, his hands stuffed in his pockets. "We thought, well, Lily needed a fresh start. She's been struggling, you know that. You're doing fine, Anna. You can always buy another house." "Another house?" I spat. "I spent 10 years saving for this one. You gave it to her? Without asking me?" Mom's eyes welled up, but her voice was firm. "Lily's had a hard time, sweetheart. She needs this more than you do. You're strong. You'll be okay." The words burned. Strong. That's what they always called me when they needed an excuse to prioritize Lily. I looked at my sister, lounging on the couch I'd chosen, and something inside me snapped. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just turned and walked away, the key still clutched in my hand. They thought I'd roll over like always. They were wrong. That night, I sat in my cramped apartment, staring at the mortgage documents. The house was still in my name with the bank. My parents' gift to Lily was a private arrangement, a transfer of the deed they'd pushed through without my consent. They didn't know I'd stopped making payments 2 months ago, after Dad casually mentioned they were helping Lily out with my house. The bank was already circling, sending warning letters about foreclosure. I hadn't planned to let it go this far, but now I saw a way to make them feel the weight of their betrayal. I called my lawyer, Sarah, the next morning. She was a sharp, no-nonsense woman who'd helped me with the house purchase. "They transferred the deed without your signature?" she asked, her tone incredulous. "That's fraud, Anna. And the mortgage is still in your name. You've got options." "Options?" I asked, leaning forward. She grinned, a glint in her eye. "Oh, honey, we can make them regret this." Over the next few days, Sarah laid out a plan. The house was legally mine with the bank, and my parents' shady maneuver wasn't binding without my consent. But fighting the deed transfer in court would be long and messy. Instead, Sarah suggested something bolder. Let the bank foreclose. Stop paying the mortgage entirely, let the house slip into default, and watch the bank seize it from Lily and my parents. It would ruin their credit, not mine, since they'd entangled themselves in the deed. It was cold, calculated, and exactly what they deserved. I hesitated. Losing the house would gut me. It was my dream, my proof of independence. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized I'd already lost it the moment they gave it to Lily. This wasn't about the house anymore. It was about justice, about showing them I wasn't their doormat. By the end of the week, I'd made my choice. I stopped all payments. The bank's letters grew more urgent, but I ignored them, forwarding copies to my parents with a single note. You wanted to play family favorites. Now face the consequences. The first foreclosure notice arrived at my parents' house a month later, a stark white envelope with bold red letters. I wasn't there to see their faces, but I could imagine Mom's trembling hands and Dad's furrowed brow as they realized the bank wasn't playing. Lily called me that evening, her voice a mix of panic and indignation. Anna, what the hell? The bank says they're taking the house. You can't just let this happen. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the ceiling of my apartment. I'm not letting anything happen, Lily. You and Mom and Dad did this. You took my house. Now you deal with the fallout. You're being petty, she snapped. This is our family. Family doesn't steal, I said, and hung up. The truth was, I wasn't just being petty. I was furious, heartbroken, and determined to teach them a lesson they'd never forget. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Lily lounging in my living room. Mom's teary justifications, Dad's dismissive shrug. They'd always treated me like the reliable one, the one who'd take the hit so Lily could shine. Not this time. Sarah kept me updated on the legal side. The bank had initiated foreclosure proceedings, and because the mortgage was in my name, my parents' attempt to transfer the deed to Lily without my consent was unraveling. They're in deep, Sarah said over coffee one morning. The bank doesn't care about their family drama. They just want their money. And since you're not paying, they're going after the property, and anyone tied to it. I nodded, sipping my latte, but my stomach churned. I'd loved that house. The open kitchen where I'd planned to host friends. The backyard where I dreamed of planting a garden. Letting it go hurt, but watching my family squirm felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. A week later, Mom showed up at my apartment unannounced. Her face was pale, her eyes red from crying. Anna, please, she said, standing in my doorway. We didn't mean to hurt you. We thought we were helping Lily. Can't you talk to the bank? Work something out. I crossed my arms, leaning against the doorframe. You didn't think about me at all, Mom. You gave away my home, my life's work, and you didn't even ask. Her lip trembled. We made a mistake, but losing the house, it'll ruin us. The bank's threatening to come after our savings, too. I felt a pang of guilt, but it was fleeting. You should have thought of that before you signed my house over to Lily. She left, head bowed, and I closed the door, my heart pounding. I wasn't heartless. I loved my parents, despite everything. But love didn't mean letting them walk all over me. Not anymore. Lily, predictably, didn't take it quietly. She started posting on social media, painting me as the villain. My sister's trying to destroy our family over a house. One post read, complete with a selfie of her looking tearful in my kitchen. The comments poured in, friends calling me selfish, heartless, jealous. I didn't respond. Let her play the victim. The truth was in the paperwork, and the bank wasn't swayed by Instagram tears. Meanwhile, I started looking for a new place. Not a house, not yet, but a small condo, something I could afford on my own terms. Felt like starting over, but also like shedding a weight. The house had been my dream, but it was also a symbol of my family's expectations, that I'd always sacrifice for them. Letting it go was my rebellion. Sarah called with an update a few weeks later. The bank's moving fast, she said. They've scheduled an auction for the house. Your parents and Lily are scrambling, but they don't have the funds to stop it. You sure you're okay with this? I hesitated, picturing the house's wide windows, the way the light spilled across the hardwood floors. Then I remembered Lily's smirk, Mom's excuses, Dad's betrayal. I'm sure, I said. As the auction date approached, I felt a strange mix of dread and liberation. I wasn't just letting the bank take the house. I was letting go of the version of myself who'd always put my family first, no matter the cost. They'd learn what it meant to lose something they valued. And maybe, just maybe, they'd finally see me. The auction was set for a crisp October morning, and I didn't plan to attend. But something pulled me to the courthouse steps, where my house, my former dream, would be sold to the highest bidder. I stood across the street, hidden in the crowd, watching as Lily, Mom, and Dad huddled together, their faces pale and drawn. Lily's usual confidence was gone, replaced by a nervous fidgeting that almost made me pity her. Almost. The bank representative read out the property details in a monotone, oblivious to the family drama unfolding before him. 3-bedroom, 2-bath, valued at $850,000, defaulted mortgage. Each word felt like a nail in the coffin of my old life. Bidders raised their paddles, strangers eager to claim what I'd built. I should have felt rage, but instead, there was a quiet satisfaction. This was the consequence they'd earned. Dad spotted me as the auction ended. He broke away from Mom and Lily, crossing the street with a look of desperation I'd never seen before. "Anna, please," he said, his voice cracking. "We're sorry. We'll fix this. Just give us a chance." "You had your chance," I said, my voice steady. "You chose Lily. Now you live with it." He opened his mouth, but no words came. For the first time, I saw him as he was. Not the strong father I'd idolized, but a man who'd made a terrible choice and couldn't undo it. He turned back to Mom and Lily, who were watching from the steps, and I walked away. The house sold for $820,000, less than its value but enough to cover the bank's losses. The surplus, if any, would go to me, but I didn't care about the money. What mattered was that Lily no longer had her free ride, and my parents' credit was in tatters. They'd tied their finances to the deed, thinking they were helping her, but now they faced collection calls and frozen accounts. Karma, it seemed, had a long memory. I expected relief, but the victory felt hollow. I'd won, but at what cost? The house was gone, and so was the family I'd once believed in. I threw myself into work, coding late into the night, trying to drown out the ache. My new condo was taking shape, a small, practical space that felt like mine in a way the house never had. But the silence at night was deafening, filled with memories of family dinners and holiday mornings now tainted by betrayal. Lily tried to reach out again, this time through a long, rambling email. "I didn't know they were going to give me the house," she wrote. "I thought you'd agreed. I'm sorry, Anna. Can we talk?" I read it twice, searching for sincerity, but all I saw was her usual deflections. She was sorry she got caught, not sorry she took what was mine. I didn't reply. Mom called next, leaving voicemails I didn't return. "We're losing everything," she said in one, her voice breaking. "The bank's coming after our savings. We might lose our house too. Anna, we're family. Doesn't that mean anything?" "Did, once. But family doesn't betray you and expect forgiveness without consequence." Sarah suggested I consider a civil suit to reclaim damages for the fraudulent deed transfer, but I wasn't sure I had the energy for another fight. "You've already hit them where it hurts," she said. "The foreclosure's enough to make them think twice next time. But if you want to push harder, we can." I thought about it, sitting in my half-furnished condo, surrounded by boxes I hadn't unpacked. A lawsuit might feel good, but it wouldn't heal the rift. It wouldn't bring back the house or the years I'd spent believing my family valued me. Instead, I focused on rebuilding, finding a new rhythm, a new purpose. I started volunteering at a local community center, teaching coding to kids who reminded me of myself at their age. Determined, overlooked, hungry to prove themselves. As winter set in, I heard through a mutual friend that Lily had moved out of state, chasing another fresh start. Mom and Dad were struggling, their retirement savings gutted by the bank's collections. Part of me wanted to reach out to offer help, but I held back. They'd made their choices. Now I was making mine. Spring arrived, and with it a fragile sense of renewal. My condo was fully furnished now, a cozy space with plants on the windowsill and a desk where I coded late into the night. It wasn't the dream house, but it was mine, earned through my own sweat, not handed to me by anyone. Yet the victory over my family still felt bittersweet, like biting into fruit that looked ripe but tasted sour. I hadn't spoken to Mom, Dad, or Lily since the auction. Mutual friends kept me updated, though I didn't ask for the news. My parents had downsized to a small apartment, their old house sold to cover debts from the foreclosure fallout. Lily was in California, working odd jobs and posting cryptic quotes about growth on social media. I tried not to care, but the wound was still raw. One afternoon, while I was teaching a coding class at the community center, a familiar face appeared at the door. It was Dad, looking older than I remembered. His shoulders stooped under an invisible weight. He waited until the kids filed out before approaching. "Anna," he said softly, "can we talk?" I wanted to say no, to walk away like I had at the auction. But something in his eyes, genuine regret, maybe, made me pause. "5 minutes," I said, crossing my arms. He sat across from me, hands clasped tightly. "We were wrong," he started. "We thought we were helping Lily, but we didn't see what it would do to you, to us. I'm sorry, Anna. I've never been more sorry in my life." I studied him, searching for the man who'd dismissed my pain so easily. "Why now?" I asked. "Because you lost everything? Or because you actually get it?" "Both," he admitted. "Losing the house, the savings, it woke us up. But it's more than that. We lost you. That's what hurts most." His words hit harder than I expected. I'd spent months building walls around my heart, convincing myself I didn't need them. But hearing Dad acknowledge my pain cracked something open. I didn't forgive him, not yet, but I listened. He told me about Mom's sleepless nights, her guilt eating away at her. About Lily's spiral, how she'd burned bridges in California and was struggling to stay afloat. "We thought we were saving her," he said, "but we just enabled her. And we broke you in the process." I didn't respond right away. Part of me wanted to lash out, to remind him how they'd chosen Lily over me. But another part, quieter but persistent, wanted to understand. "Why her?" I finally asked. "Why was it always Lily who got the pass?" Dad sighed, rubbing his temples. "She was fragile. We thought you were strong enough to handle anything. We were wrong. You shouldn't have had to." The conversation ended without promises or hugs. I wasn't ready for that, but it planted a seed, a possibility that maybe one day we could rebuild something from the ashes. Back at my condo, I called Sarah. "What's the status on a potential lawsuit?" I asked. I wasn't sure I wanted to pursue it, but I needed to know my options. "It's still viable," she said. "Fraudulent transfer of property is serious. You could go after damages, maybe even punitive ones. But it'll be a fight, and it'll keep this wound open longer. What do you want, Anna? Justice or peace?" I didn't have an answer. Justice felt good in theory, but peace, true peace, was what I craved. I thanked her and hung up, staring out my window at the city lights. For the first time in months, I felt like I had a choice. Hold on to the anger or let it go. The next week, I got an unexpected letter from Mom. Not an email or a voicemail, but a handwritten note, her familiar cursive filling the page. "Anna, I don't expect forgiveness," it began. "But I need you to know I see you now. I see how strong you are, how much we took from you. I'm so sorry." She didn't ask for anything, didn't beg for reconciliation. It was just an apology, raw and unadorned. I read it over and over, tears blurring the ink. I wasn't ready to call her, but I tucked the letter into a drawer. A small step toward something I couldn't yet name. The house was gone, but maybe family didn't have to be. Summer brought clarity, like sunlight cutting through fog. I'd settled into my condo, my coding classes at the community center were thriving, and I'd even started dating. A tentative step toward opening my heart again. But the shadow of my family's betrayal lingered, a quiet ache that flared whenever I thought of the house. I hadn't decided whether to pursue a lawsuit, but Sarah's question, justice or peace, echoed in my mind. Then Lily showed up. It was a Saturday morning, and I was watering my plants when the doorbell rang. She stood on my doorstep, no longer the smug sister who'd stolen my home. Her hair was pulled into a messy bun, her eyes tired. "Anna," she said, her voice small, "I need to talk." I let her in more out of curiosity than kindness. She sat on my couch, fidgeting with her sleeves. "I messed up," she said. "I didn't know Mom and Dad were going to give me the house. I swear. But I should have said no. I should have known it was yours." I raised an eyebrow. "You expect me to believe you didn't know?" "I knew it was your house," she admitted, looking down. "But they told me you were okay with it, that you'd agreed to help me out. I was desperate, Anna. I just lost my job, my boyfriend left me, and I believed them." Her words didn't erase the anger, but they stirred something else, doubt. Had I been too quick to assume Lily was the mastermind? She'd always been reckless, not calculating. I leaned back, studying her. "Why are you here, Lily? What do you want?" "I want to make it right," she said. "I know I can't give you the house back, but I want to try. I'm working now, saving up. I'll pay you back whatever I can." I laughed, not out of cruelty but disbelief. "You think money fixes this? You think a few bucks make up for what you all did?" "No," she said quickly. "But it's a start, and I'm done running. I'm done being the screw-up sister." I didn't know if I believed her, but her earnestness was new. Lily had never taken responsibility before. I didn't forgive her. I wasn't there yet, but I told her I'd think about it. After she left, I sat alone, grappling with the possibility that she wasn't the villain I'd made her out to be. A few days later, I met Mom for coffee. It was our first real conversation since the auction. She looked fragile, her hands wrapped tightly around her mug. "I read your letter," I said. "It meant something, but it doesn't fix everything." "I know," she said. "I don't expect it to, but I want to try. We want to be in your life, Anna, if you'll let us." I didn't commit to anything, but I didn't shut her down either. We talked for an hour, not about the house but about small things, my coding classes, her new hobby, painting. It wasn't reconciliation, but it was a start. Sarah called that evening with news. "The banks settled the foreclosure," she said. "Your parents and Lily are off the hook for further collections, but their credit's shot. You still thinking about a lawsuit?" I hesitated. A lawsuit would mean dragging this out, keeping the wound open. But letting go felt like giving up. "What's the point?" I asked. "The house is gone. They're already paying for it." "Closure," Sarah said. "Or maybe just knowing you didn't let them off easy." I thought about Lily's apology, Mom's letter, Dad's regret. They were suffering, not just financially but emotionally. Maybe that was enough. "I'll let you know," I said, but in my heart, I was leaning toward peace. That night, I wrote a letter of my own, not to my family but to myself. I poured out everything. The pain, the anger, the love I still felt despite it all. It was cathartic, a way to acknowledge the hurt without letting it define me. I was more than the house, more than the betrayal. I was Anna, and I was enough. By fall, I'd found a rhythm. My coding classes had grown, with wait lists for the next session. My condo felt like home, filled with books and photos of new memories. Friends, students, moments that weren't tied to my family's betrayal. I hadn't filed a lawsuit, though Sarah kept the option open. The idea of peace was starting to outweigh the need for justice. Then Dad invited me to dinner at their new apartment. "Just the three of us," he said. "No pressure." I almost said no, but curiosity, and maybe a flicker of hope, made me agree. When I arrived, the apartment was small but tidy, a far cry from their old house. Mom hugged me, tentative but warm, and Dad offered a shy smile. Lily wasn't there, which was a relief. We ate pasta and talked about safe topics, work, the weather, my classes. But halfway through, Mom set down her fork and looked at me. "Anna, we want to make this right. We've been talking to a financial advisor. We're setting up a trust to repay you for the house, whatever we can manage." I froze, my fork hovering over my plate. A trust? It won't be $850,000. Dad said. Not even close, not with our debts. But we want to show you we're serious. We know we can't undo what we did, but we can try. I didn't know how to respond. Part of me wanted to reject it, to say their money didn't matter. But another part saw the effort, the humility in their offer. I'll think about it, I said finally. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was a door left ajar. Lily reached out again a week later, this time with a concrete offer. She'd landed a steady job as a graphic designer and wanted to send me monthly payments toward what she called her debt to me. It's not about the house, she wrote in an email. It's about showing you I'm not that person anymore. I met her for lunch to discuss it. She looked different, grounded, maybe. She talked about her job, her plans to stay in California, her therapy sessions. I was selfish, she said. I didn't see you, Anna. I just saw what I wanted. I'm trying to change. I listened, weighing her words against years of resentment. I don't trust you yet, I said, but I'll take the payments. Not because I need the money, but because you need to mean it. She nodded, tears in her eyes. I do. Over the next few months, small checks arrived from Lily, each with a short note. I'm still here. Mom and Dad sent updates about the trust, which was slowly growing. It wasn't about the money, it never had been. It was about accountability, about them seeing me as more than the strong one who'd always take the hit. I started inviting Mom and Dad to my coding classes, letting them see the life I'd built without them. They came, hesitant at first, but soon they were cheering on my students, proud in a way they hadn't been before. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. One evening, as I walked home from the community center, I realized I wasn't angry anymore. The house was gone, but so was the weight of my family's expectations. I'd let the bank take their security, but in doing so, I'd reclaimed my own. I was no longer the daughter who fixed everything, the sister who stepped aside. I was Anna and I was free. Sarah called one last time about the lawsuit. Last chance, she said. You in or out? Out, I said, smiling. I'm done fighting. I hung up and looked around my condo, at the life I'd built from the ashes of betrayal. It wasn't the dream I'd planned, but it was mine, and that was enough. A year after the auction, I stood in a courtroom, not as a plaintiff, but as a witness to my own healing. My parents and Lily had asked me to join them in a mediation session, a final step to clear the air and move forward. I'd agreed, not out of obligation but because I wanted closure, not just for them but for me. The mediator, a calm woman with a knack for cutting through tension, sat us around a table. Mom and Dad looked nervous, their hands clasped tightly. Lily, back from California for the day, kept her eyes on the table. I felt strangely calm, like I'd already fought the hardest battles within myself. We're here to rebuild, the mediator began. Anna, would you like to start? I took a deep breath. I lost more than a house, I said. I lost trust. I lost the family I thought I had. But I've built something new, and I don't want to carry this anger forever. I'm here to see if we can find a way forward. Mom cried first, then Dad, their apologies spilling out in halting words. They acknowledged the favoritism, the blindness to my pain, the assumptions that I'd always be okay. Lily spoke last, her voice steady but raw. I took what wasn't mine, she said. Not just the house, but your trust. I'm working to earn it back, even if it takes years. The mediator guided us through terms, not legal ones, but emotional ones. Lily would continue her payments, not as repayment for the house, but as a gesture of accountability. Mom and Dad would contribute to the trust, and we'd meet regularly, not to rehash the past, but to build something new. It wasn't a fairy tale ending, but it was honest. After the session, we went for coffee as a family for the first time in years. It was awkward, filled with long silences, but also moments of lightness. Dad's bad jokes, Mom's stories about her painting, Lily's shy mention of a new project. I didn't forgive them fully, not yet, but I felt the possibility of it like a seed taking root. Back at my condo, I pulled out Mom's letter from the drawer and read it again. Then I added my own, the one I'd written to myself, and tucked them away together. They were reminders of where I'd been and where I was going. The house was a memory, but so was the pain. I'd let the bank take their security, but I'd gained something greater, myself. My coding classes grew into a full-fledged program, funded by a grant I'd applied for. I saw my students' faces light up as they mastered new skills, and I realized I was building a legacy that no one could take away. Mom and Dad started attending regularly, cheering from the back, and Lily sent encouraging emails from California, her payments arriving like clockwork. One evening, as I locked up the community center, I looked at the stars over Seattle. The city felt different now, not a place of loss, but of possibility. I'd let go of the house, the anger, the need to prove myself. In their place, I'd found purpose, strength, and a family that was learning to see me. The $850,000 home was gone, but I was still standing, and that was the greatest victory of all.